All right, everybody, welcome to our deep dive today, all about AI, specifically GPT 4.5. Now, I know AI can seem kind of intimidating, especially if you're new to it all, but that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. We're going to break it all down, make it clear and easy to understand, using this as our guide. OpenAI's very recently released system card on GPT 4.5.
Yeah, it's kind of like a research preview showing all the strengths and weaknesses and how GPT 4.5 is still learning and growing.
Okay, so let's just start with the basics. What exactly is GPT 4.5? I keep hearing this phrase, large language model. What does that even mean?
So imagine a computer program that has read basically everything on the internet, every book, every article, every website, and it's able to use all of that information to understand and generate text, just like a person would.
So it's like a really, really smart chatbot, but way more powerful.
Kind of. GPT 4.5 is actually built on the previous model, GPT-4, which was already really impressive, especially in STEM fields.
So GPT-4 was like the math and science whiz, and now GPT 4.5 is like the well-rounded student who can write and code and solve any problem you throw at it.
That's a great way to put it. GPT 4.5 can handle a wider range of tasks. That's what they mean when they say it's more general purpose.
This brings me to something that really caught my eye in the system card, this idea of unsupervised learning. Can you explain that? How does an AI learn if no one is teaching it?
Well, think about how kids learn. You don't sit them down with a textbook for absolutely everything. They learn by exploring, by experimenting, by just playing and figuring things out on their own. Unsupervised learning is kind of like that for AI.
So it's like giving a kid a library card and saying, go have fun.
Exactly. You give the AI a ton of data, and you let it learn by finding patterns in that data all by itself.
Fascinating. So it's basically learning by doing.
Exactly. And then, to solve more difficult problems, GPT 4.5 combines this unsupervised learning with something called chain of thought reasoning.
Okay, now we're getting into the really interesting stuff. Break down this chain of thought reasoning for me.
Okay, so imagine you're trying to solve a really tricky riddle. You wouldn't just immediately jump to the answer. You'd think it through. You'd break it down into steps. You'd consider all the possibilities. And that's kind of what chain of thought reasoning is all about. It lets GPT 4.5 mimic the way that humans solve problems.
So instead of just giving an answer, it can actually show its work and explain how it got there.
Exactly. And that makes it not only more transparent, but also helps it to get the right answer more often.
Now, one thing that really stood out to me in the system card was his focus on fewer hallucinations. Can you explain what that means when we talk about AI, and why is that such a big deal?
Yeah, so in AI, hallucinations are basically when the AI generates something incorrect or nonsensical. Like imagine you ask an AI for a recipe and one of the ingredients it gives you is unicorn tears. Obviously, that doesn't exist.
So it's basically making things up.
Right, which can be a huge problem if you're relying on the AI for something important.
Okay, so less making things up, more sticking to the facts. Got it. The system card also mentioned improved emotional intelligence. Does that mean GPT 4.5 can be my therapist now?
Well, not quite. But it does mean that GPT 4.5 is getting better at understanding and responding to emotions in text. So it might offer comfort if it senses you're sad, or it could help to de-escalate a tense situation. Or it might just be a good listener.
So it's like having a friend who's really good at reading the room, but in a digital way.
That's a good way to think about it.
Oh, yeah?
And it really shows how AI is evolving to work with us more naturally and intuitively.
Yeah, it's not about replacing humans. It's more about how can we make AI understand and respond to us better.
But with all this talk about AI and understanding our emotions, it makes me think about safety concerns. We're talking about some pretty powerful technology here.
Oh.
Does the system card address those safety concerns at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. Any powerful technology comes with risks, and AI is no different. And the system card actually goes into a lot of detail about OpenAI's commitment to safety testing. So they're not just throwing this AI out there without thinking about what could go wrong.
No, not at all. They have this preparedness framework where they put GPT 4.5 through all these tests, like an obstacle course for AI, trying to find any potential problems and figure out how to prevent them.
Like what kind of problems? Give me some examples.
Well, for example, could someone use GPT 4.5 to do something bad, like create harmful content or spread misinformation? Or could someone trick it into generating dangerous code or revealing private information? These are all things they're testing for.
That's good to hear. So they're trying to stay one step ahead of the bad guys.
Exactly. They're trying to find any vulnerabilities and build in safeguards to try to prevent GPT 4.5 from being misused. And based on their evaluations, they classified GPT 4.5 as medium risk overall.
Medium risk, what does that mean?
It means there are risks, but they've put things in place to reduce those risks. And they also say that real-world use is important to help them identify and address any new problems that might pop up.
So they're releasing it, but they're watching it very carefully.
Yeah, you could say that. Okay, so we've talked about what GPT 4.5 is, how it learns, and how OpenAI is approaching safety.
But let's get to the really exciting part.
Hmm.
What can this thing actually do in the real world?
Well, one of the most impressive things is its multilingual ability. They tested GPT 4.5 on this huge benchmark that was translated into 14 different languages, and it did amazingly well across the board.
Wow, so it's like a polyglot AI fluent in a dozen languages.
Yeah, pretty much. And not only can it understand and generate text in all these languages, but it can also tackle complex tasks, like fixing real-world coding issues. They even had it try some of the tasks from OpenAI's own research engineer interviews.
Wait, so it could help us write better code? It could even pass a job interview for a coding position.
Well, it's showing a lot of potential there.
Hmm.
And on the creative side, it can help writers with all sorts of things, from brainstorming ideas to refining text, to even generating different creative formats, like poems, scripts, even musical pieces.
AI writing music, that's wild. So it's not just about logic and numbers, it can actually be creative.
Exactly, and this is just the beginning. As GPT 4.5 continues to develop, we're going to see a lot more creative applications.
That's what's so exciting about AI. It's constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But back to those real-world applications for a second. What are some other areas where GPT 4.5 could really make a difference?
Well, think about education. Students could use it for personalized tutoring, or to learn languages more effectively, or to explore complicated scientific concepts in a way that's engaging and fun.
It's like having a world-class tutor available 24/7.
Uh,
And what about business? How could GPT 4.5 help companies be more efficient?
oh, the possibilities are endless. It could automate tasks, improve customer service, help with market research, product development. Imagine an AI assistant that can analyze data, generate reports, even write marketing copy.
That would free up so much time for people to focus on the really important things. But we can't forget about those potential downsides we talked about.
With all these benefits come potential risks too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're standing at the edge of this brand new world. And GPT 4.5 is our map button. Maps can lead to amazing things, or they can lead to danger. It all depends on how we use them. So as we wrap up our deep dive on GPT 4.5, let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture. What does all of this mean for the future?
That's a big question, isn't it? GPT 4.5 and AI in general, it's like this huge opportunity. But it also comes with some real challenges. It's like we have this powerful new tool, and it's up to us to figure out how to use it the right way.
I think a lot of people hear AI and they immediately think of robots taking over the world. Is that a real concern with something like GPT 4.5, or is it more likely to be used for good?
I think it's probably somewhere in between.
Mm.
Honestly, AI is a tool just like any other. And any tool can be used for good or bad. It all comes down to how we develop it, how we use it. We need to be aware of the risks, but we also need to be excited about the possibilities. So, no robot overlords anytime soon.
I wouldn't worry about that. But the truth is, the impact of GPT 4.5 really depends on us. Imagine if we could use AI to fight climate change, to develop new medical treatments, to make education better. That's the kind of potential we're talking about.
That's definitely the optimistic view. But what about the downsides? People are worried about AI taking jobs, spreading misinformation, even becoming uncontrollable. Are those valid concerns?
They are, and we can't ignore them. As AI gets more advanced, it's very likely that some jobs will be automated. But that doesn't mean we're all going to be out of work. It just means that new jobs will be created. Think about what happened when cars were invented. People who drove horse-drawn carriages lost their jobs. But a whole new industry was created around automobiles.
So it's not about being afraid of change. It's about being ready to adapt.
Exactly. We need to be flexible. We need to keep learning new things. And we need to focus on developing skills that will work alongside AI, not compete with it. As for misinformation, that's a problem we already have, even without AI. The solution is to teach people how to think critically, how to evaluate information, and how to be skeptical of what they see online.
That's easier said than done, though,
Right.
Especially with so much information out there these days.
It is a challenge, but it's a challenge we have to face. The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's up to us to decide what it looks like. GPT 4.5 is a powerful tool, but we need to be the ones guiding its development and making sure it's used for good.
So in a way, we all have a responsibility to shape the future of AI?
Absolutely. We need to be part of the conversation. We need to ask tough questions.
Right.
And we need to hold the people developing these technologies accountable.
That's a great point. We can't just sit back and let AI happen. We need to be actively involved in shaping what it becomes. But on a more positive note, I think one of the coolest things about GPT 4.5 is this idea of human-AI collaboration.
I totally agree. With its improved emotional intelligence, AI could become much more natural and intuitive to interact with. Imagine being able to have a conversation with an AI that feels just like talking to a friend. That's the kind of future we could be headed towards.
That would definitely change things. So any final thoughts for our listeners as we wrap up this deep dive into GPT 4.5?
Just this: stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. AI is changing rapidly, and your voice matters. The choices we make today will determine what AI becomes, and ultimately, what our future looks like.
That's a powerful message to end on. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of GPT 4.5. And to everyone listening out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning. The future is full of possibilities, and it's up to all of us to make it a good one. All of us to make it a good one.